afternoon and welcome to World History. This is our live stream. This is session 1. There are 3 such streams. This is the first of 3. And really, I am Muhammed, Dr. H, an instructor, tutor, and content developer for Princeton Review. With me today is my favorite moderator, Shadna. She'll be the one feeding the questions to me. So as you type questions to me, there will be a delay. And Shadna will be the one handling that end of it. It's great to be working with her again. And of course, the person who makes all of this happen is Brian, the tech magician, without whom none of this would be possible, including some of the last-minute glitches we've had a little bit of. Okay, so let's get started. What I hope to cover, of course, is the 2021 AP testing for world history, how to prep for world history, and how we can help you out. Now, we're going back to the more traditional AP format, and the reason why there are 3 sessions is because today what I will be covering will be the multiple choice questions. Tomorrow it will be the short answer, and then for the 3rd session, that what we will have is that's where I will cover the long essay and the document-based question. So when are the test dates? Well, they have changed things up a little bit. There used to be only 1 test date, but now, as you can see, that there are 3. And they are 3 because, well, they have the traditional paper only, which is only offered in your school. And then on May 20th and on June 3rd, just to keep everything the same, they have 12 p.m. Eastern time, Eastern Daylight Time, where it would be administered either in school or at home. And this choice is something that your school makes. So you will need to talk to your AP counselor to see what choices you have when they are planning on doing it. So they will be able to give you, a better idea as to when it's being held. So when I do say digital in school, that means you will go to the school's computer lab. It will be monitored, things like that. But your counselor should be able to tell you a lot more about it. Well, what is on this year's test? It's 2 sections. Section 1 is multiple choice. There are 55 questions, and there are 3 to 4 questions per stimulus. So they'll give you a stimulus, and then they're going to ask you some multiple choice questions on it. It is certainly the most weighted part. It's yes, there are the long essays as well, which are down here. So you do have a document-based and a long essay question as well. I'll get to that in a minute. So this one is 55 minutes, and then you have short answers. Basically, you have to do 3 of these short answers. There is the one question is on a secondary source. The second question is on a primary source. There are no choices here. These are the 2 you have to do. And then there are 2 questions with no stimulus, and you have to answer one of them. And that's 20%, and all 3 of these should take about 40 minutes. Part 2 is where you have your document-based. So this is your 7 documents that we know and love so well, and that is 25% of the test for 60 minutes. And this 60 minutes includes a 15-minute reading time. And yes, you do need the reading time as well. There is a long essay, and there you can select 1 out of 3. And that is 15% of your grade, which is 40 minutes. Okay, so the units that are covered. So these are the units that are covered. So notice that they start from about 1200 and they go to the present. Roughly, this is their breakdown, and you can see, a large portion of the test is from, we'll call it the 1450s through about the early 20th century. So that's where most of that's where the biggest part of the test is. Yes, they sum out here. So this is with the start of World War I, World War II, thereabouts. And then, of course, the the earlier part of it, which is the global tapestry and networks of exchange, the Silk Road, the oceanic trades, things like that, Sahara trade. So preparing for the world history. How do we prepare for the world history? Well, as you're looking at the world history curriculum, what they want you to do is they want you to engage in historical thinking. And what's historical thinking? Well, really historical thinking, the best way to look at it is you have these historical events and you use those historical events for context. What you do is you add meaning to those historical events through connections that through connections that you can make to other events, to other decisions. And really, all of this has to be supported through documentation. Somehow it should be supported. Sometimes hearsay will work as well. Although for that, you have standards of historical standards of authenticity that you need to be looking at. But in either case, what you have is this is the way you would actually for it. Now that I've said that, let's actually see how this actually works in the multiple choice question. So here is a multiple choice. Here is a stimulus back here. That's what we have tried to set up the slides. So this is a sample stimulus. This is question one from the stimulus. And on the next slide, I have some of the others. So I'm going to give you a little bit of time to read the stimulus, about 30 seconds or so, and then we will go through the questions. Okay, let's go through the questions. The brotherhood of people mentioned in the national anthem is a reference to which of the following? And if we're looking for the brotherhood of people, really, here it is. Now, answering the question without the answer choices sometimes may be difficult. So it might be easier to say, what is not the answer? So we know, for instance, that the way Pakistan was created is that it actually there was the partition after India got its independence from the British Empire. So the brotherhood of people would not be referring to the colonized people. So let's eliminate that answer choice. It would not be referring to all people living on the Indian subcontinent. So now what we have is Pakistanis and their former colonizers, or Muslims in the sacred land. And this answer choice C is tempting. Answer choice C is tempting because it is partially right. What makes it wrong is this piece of it, and that's why we don't select that. And it is actually D. The credited answer is D. And if you're wondering what sacred land is, well, Pakistan is actually referred to the sacred land. Pak means pure. And so Pakistan, whenever you see, if you wonder why there are all these stands, as they call them, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Stan actually means the land. So Pakistan actually literally means the pure land of the pure. So that's where we would get this. Now, of course, you're not expected to know what Pakistan really means, but I thought the background information may help a little bit. Let's take a look at question 2. The creation of Pakistan was most acutely attributed to which one of the following? Now, for this one here, you actually do not need the poem. If you know how Pakistan was created, you know that it was by the Muslim League. The British colonists sort of said, okay, we'll do what that is. Mohandas Gandhi was actually against the creation of Pakistan. So it is actually the Muslim League, which actually fought for and got land that was then called Pakistan. So realize that now for this question, you actually need to know something beyond what they give you here. And that is why this is a little bit beyond just a reading comp type passage. Okay, so which of the following was a result of the establishment of Pakistan and India into two separate countries? Okay, so what happened right after Pakistan and India were formed? What we know is that, or what you would know, is that there was mass migration of Muslims and Hindus going in opposite directions, the Muslims going towards Pakistan, the Hindus going towards India, and that created violence and rioting and all of that. So that's why A is the credited answer in this case. If you are looking at process of elimination, there is no government, so it would not be the establishment of the government. It would not be the establishment of separate state religions in both places. Actually, they are more Muslims in India than they are in Pakistan. And there wasn't an agreement. There was no pact between Mohandas Gandhi and Muhammad Ali Jinnah. So to answer this question, what you need to do is, you may not know the answer because there are several answer choices. So the best way to get to the answer, this answer, is actually to eliminate and say it's not this, it's not this, it's not this. And that might be the best way to do this. Of course, this method is, if you read literature, this is what Arthur Conan Doyle or Sherlock Holmes used a lot in his mysteries. And that is the same method that we will be using here for pretty much the multiple choice questions. It's a pretty powerful technique. Okay, number 4, we're looking at the arrangement made between Pakistanis and Indians in 1947 is most similar to which of the following historical arrangements? Okay, so now we have an event that happened in 47, and we're being asked to compare to which one of these. At this point, we got to find what are the similarities, what are the differences, and if there are differences, that's what we have to eliminate. So here we are looking at a military agreement or a political agreement. It was neither of those, so these answer choices can be eliminated. Here it says a geographical arrangement between Jews and Muslims in Palestine. Possibly. This one here says a colonial arrangement between France and Indochina. Well, there wasn't a colonial arrangement between India and Pakistan, so that's why this is also eliminated. And we are left with the geographical arrangement between Jews and Muslims in Palestine. And this is really the ability for them to travel back and forth. So that's what this is. This one can be thought of in terms of more geographical boundaries that are meant to keep people of different religions against, out of basically the other land. So that's what this is as far as the major themes go. And that's what we are looking for in our answer choice. So there we go, geographical boundaries. And these people of the different religions have a strong tendency towards conflict towards the other people as well, towards the other, what they see as the other, and that's why this would be the closest. Now, at this point, basically, these are the 4 questions that are associated with this stimulus. And you must have noticed something here. And what you may have noticed is that you have particular types of questions. There are some types of questions which are reading comp type questions. Okay, so they are reading comp. That you can pull right from the context. We didn't have a really good example in this one, but there will be others where we will have a good example or a better example. They are questions where you have to use info in stimulus to connect with your own knowledge. So we'll call that with outside knowledge. In some cases, you just have to use your outside knowledge. And some of the harder questions are the ones where you have to compare situation given to another similar situation. Knowing the types of questions, I mean, yes, I know we try and classify these by topics, but knowing the types of questions that show up here sometimes makes it a little bit easier to answer. At least you know where to look. And the other thing it may do is that there might be certain stimulus where you can say, yeah, I can do this, or others where you say you can't do this. Now, realize that the points for a stimulus actually lie not in reading the stimulus, but actually in answering the questions. So if that's what we want to do, if that's where the points lie, let's go for the points. Okay, so let us use that technique for the next stimulus. This one. This poem appealed to a citizen's sense of, okay, this one here, I actually have to read and see what it appeals to. So I will actually have to read what I need to find. Now, as you're looking through, as you're glancing through, it's better to read with a question in mind, because now you're reading with a purpose to see what is happening here. And you're not just reading to read, you're actually reading to answer a question. As you are looking at these, you know that there are some answer choices you can eliminate right away. These two are easy eliminations: equality and economic prosperity. Religious obligation and defending the homeland. Well, close, right? Close. Both are fairly close. The point is, are we really defending the homeland, or are we actually acting out a sense of religious obligation? So here's where you need to know the background of the poem. Notice it says the Boxer poem, 1899. So once you realize how how people were recruited for the Boxer rebellion, you realize that while the poem does talk about some defense, it is actually a trap. So this is our trap answer, and the credited answer is C. Oh, oh, so close, Joseph. Nice, nice try. Nice try. You see how close you were? This is how they get you. This is really how they get you. And notice you got, I think they should give you half credit for that. They really should give you half credit for that. It's so tricky. It's so close, right? So yeah, I feel for you, man. I really do. Let's take a look at this. Where did this poem originate? Now, well, you have to know to know why it is C and not D. You got to think about how the people who are part of the Boxer Rebellion actually recruited the other Chinese. They were actually appealing to, hey, these Christians are defiling our land, is what they were doing. Our ancestors are up in arms. That's why we have pestilence coming in. That's why we have all this famine, is because our ancestors are not happy. They want us to rise up and do something about it. So remember in China, even some parts of today, even up to today, arguably, the mandate of heaven is still looked upon as something important. So that's why when there's a natural disaster, you see a lot of presence, uh, government presence, in order to quell whatever is happening. Remember, it was even more there, where natural disasters were seen as a sign from the heavens, a sign from your ancestors to actually do something, because something was not quite right. Okay, so I hope that helps. It's close though. D is tricky. This one here, okay, they throw you a bone here. So if you knew where the Boxer poem was, or where the Boxer Rebellion started, this one was easy. You didn't. Awesome, awesome. You didn't need to read the poem. You just needed to know what the source was, and you knew the answer to this one. So sometimes they will give you an easy one too, which is great. Which is great that they do that. Yes, they do. But remember, as you look at the poem and you find these words here, which is how they mainly did that, you also look at things down here, right? As you look at things down here, you can say, well, maybe it is defending the homeland, because it does talk about the foreign devils. So you can go both ways, and that is why answer choice D was so tricky. And you had to go beyond the poem to actually get the answer. You can typically, for questions like this, you can eliminate two with relative ease. It's the other two that you have a difficult time. Okay, that's where the thinking really starts, and that is why you want to eliminate the answer choices, because looking at 4 answer choices is a lot harder than looking at 2. So if you can eliminate some, that's less brain work that you need to do. Okay, let's take a look at this. The uprising was put down by, well, certain things that are not part of the answer. It wasn't the Papal Army. So let's get rid of that. Was it the Imperial Army? Was it that the uprising was successful? Was it the 8-Nation Alliance? So here, it's easy to eliminate one, But here is where you really need to know the background of the Boxer Rebellion to actually get the answer. And if you knew what happened during the Boxer Rebellion, you would know that it was the Eight Nation Alliance that actually did put it out. At first, it was the Imperial Army, in fact, that was aiding the Boxer Rebellion. Um, when they talk about the great Quinn, this is the Prince Quinn, who was leading the Imperial Army, and was later stripped of it and things like that. But he was the one who was leading the Imperial Army and was put down. So, question 3, yeah, it's really testing your knowledge if you know on the Boxer Rebellion. Okay, here's another nasty one. Notice that it's asking most analogous to. So if it's asking most analogous to, now what we have to do is look at what is most similar. So what makes the Boxer Rebellion difficult is that while the rhetoric was religious, the reasons, the rationale was not always religious. Arguably, it could be a power grab. And so now we have to look for something in what we have here, which was, okay, what used religious symbolism, but arguably may not have been purely religious. They could have been other reasons for it, other types of benefits that happened. Well, the Rwanda genocide was not religious. No religious undertones here. And no religious undertones here. Okay, so now you have the Gujarat riots and the Yugoslav wars. Both had religious undertones. Both could have been for other reasons apart from religious reasons. So now what do you look at? Now you look at basically in the Boxer rebellion, there was a foreign power or an alliance of foreign powers that came in and put that down. And once you realize that, you see that B is closer because in the Yugoslav wars, we had the NATO alliance that came in as well. So yeah, this is a tough one. This is really a tough one. And sometimes you get questions like this where it's tough and yeah, you gotta really dig a little bit deeper to figure out what happens. Now, for those of you who got that, and I know there are some of you who got that, uh, maybe you're not telling me, which is okay. Okay, if you're looking at the units, give me a minute here. The Boxer Rebellion comes from land-based empires with the Chinese unit that we have. That's the wrong sheet of paper. From basically that's where you come on. It was the land-based empires and the rise of colonialism. So that's where it would come from. So where you would cover colonialism and land-based empires. Okay, that's where the Boxer poem comes from. The Yugoslav wars. This is more recent. So this is more contemporary, more contemporary work, which would come from basically globalization. When you're looking at your globalization unit, that's where that would come from. I hope that helped. Yeah, awesome. You want to try this one? Let's try this one, because sometimes they're going to give you. Now, this one has a picture. So on the real test, you're probably going to have a black and white picture, not a color one. I wanted to put a color one here. Okay. Sometimes you may actually have graphs too. You may have graphs, you may have tables. Well, most likely graphs. Tables are harder to work with. I actually like these pictures. I think that they are a little bit easier to work with because there isn't a whole lot of reading. You can pretty much pick up a lot of things. And yes, remember to read the source as to where it is, because that may tell you quite a bit. So this is Queen Victoria. We know this is colonial England. And what is happening in colonial England at that time? Remember, this is at virtually the peak of their colonial power here, right? Or around the peak of their this is where the British Empire had the greatest control. And this is where they talk about the sun never sets in the British Empire. So what does it suggest? What does a painting suggest about England? I don't know. It suggests a lot of things. So the best way to approach this question is to actually go through the answer choices. Victorian culture was intolerant of other religions. Not quite. Now you'd be looking at Elizabethan culture, Elizabeth I, right, at that time, and it wasn't in England as much as it was in Spain. This is more like the Inquisition in Spain. So maybe not. I don't like this. This is I don't have a good reason to eliminate it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this a weak and put a W here for weak. The English crown justified imperialism on moral basis. Yes, this is what it did, and this is what it said that it had a mandate to do. So I do like this. So when I like an answer choice, I'm going to put a check mark next to it. England had little interest in the Berlin Conference. Well, here we have Queen Victoria giving a Bible to an African chief, so no. Okay, and the British economy relied upon the African slave trade. Well, okay, this would be another weak one. Given a weak and given a question that I really like, what do I want to do? Or what am I most likely to pick? The one that I really like the best. So what I do when I am looking at multiple choice questions, if I have, let's say, answer choices A, B, C, and D. If I like an answer choice, I'm going to put a check mark. So this is when I really like it. I'll put a weak when it is a weak, which means I don't like it, but can't eliminate. Don't like, but can't eliminate. And then if I leave it blank, that means, okay, it's could be an answer. And then if I eliminate it, this means I have eliminated it. So this is what I do to very quickly then tell me, as I go through the answer choices, what do I want to do? Do I want to keep them? Do I want to not keep them? Things like that. And sometimes I will be down to some answer choices where I have, let's say, if I have something like this. So let's see, let me change colors here. If I have A, B, C, and D, and I go, this is weak. This one I can eliminate, and this one I can eliminate. And you can tell that now I'm going to go with a B. Of these two, which I am down to, this one seems to be a better choice. And chances are, when you are guessing, you can say, hey, this is guessing. Yeah, it's guessing. And you know what? It's even more, for more than that, it is time efficient, because what you realize is when you guess on things like this, your guesses are right about 80% of the time, more than 50% of the time. So, you can use things like this. You can use your hunches because you have been studying world history for what, a year, maybe more. So your hunches are right. Your guesses are right. You may not know why, but chances are they would be correct. So let's take a look at this one. Queen Victoria's reign can be best characterized by which of the following? Okay, a drastic loss of imperial gains. Now that did not happen in her time, so it's not that. Economic stagnation following the end of the industrial revolution. Possibly. No, I don't think so. Liberal reform and a decreasing power of the monarchy. Yes, this is what characterized her reign. The liberal reform with the economic, basically laissez-faire economics was on the decline. Colonial expansion in Africa and a decreased presence in Asia. So no, this is not it either. So we're down to C. Okay. This is a question where, at least at the beginning, if you want to answer the question and then look for the credited answer in the answer choices, it's hard. So what you need to do here is you need to use the answer choices to eliminate and figure out what really the question is after. Okay, so this is one of those where if you just read the question, yeah, it's going to be tough to know what the answer is, like this clip art here. Okay, so you are allowed paper. So use your paper, go through A, B, C, D on your paper, and do your elimination right on the paper. Okay, that will help you. And if you can't go back, then that's what you need to do. That's what you are stuck with. Okay. Okay. This painting clearly reflects the concept of, so here they actually want you to look at the painting and interpret it. So to interpret the painting, what you got to do is you got to say, okay, fine, what does this actually do? So what is Queen Victoria really doing? And we got to read this little piece here. It says, Queen Victoria is offering a Bible and therefore religion and therefore Western a Western outlook to an African chief. So this would be an example of white man's burden. I sort of alluded to it a little bit earlier, but didn't talk about it as much. So what I'd like to do now is jump ahead a little bit. I do have one more set to go over, but I think what is more useful than going over another set where you basically see the same thing is if we can synthesize everything that that we have seen so far. If I can go back, I will, but if I'm out of time and I do want to give you guys questions as well, then I do want to talk about approaching the multiple choice section. So while I'm actually going through this, now would be a good time to actually queue up your questions. So Shadna can actually queue them for me rather than waiting. But I will go through this as you can see. So the multiple choice section, what do you want to do? Well, here I am assuming a paper and pencil test. So if you can't go back, you can't go back. You do them in order then. So what you want to do is you want to scan the stimulus. and decide as soon as you scan the stimulus if this is a now or later stimulus. If this is a now, then do all the questions for that stimulus now. Okay, yeah, there might be some you may say, I don't know. Take your best guess. It's time to move on. You got to keep moving here. Doing these 55 questions is tough. So you got to keep moving. If it's a later stimulus, mark it as later and move on. And typically what I do is I will mark it as a particular era or and a particular geographical region. So this way I know if I'm weak at it or weaker at it. For the later stimulus, I'm either weak or weaker. That's why I'm leaving them for later, uh, or if they are likely to take some time. Okay, so mark the subject area it is testing, and typically that would be either geographical. So this subject area is either geographical or temporal with the time periods. When all the now questions are done, what do you do? When all the now questions are done, you do the later question again per stimuli. So you do one stimulus at a time. And what you want to do is you want to pick the easier ones. You already have marked these on your paper, so you know where to go. If you know where to go, that's where you go and do them. Refer to your notes to do the easier ones first. Okay, so what are good practice guidelines? Good practice guidelines are you want to approach the questions per stimulus. That means once you are done with a stimulus, a set of questions, you're done. That's it. You don't want to order them right from the beginning. If it's a now, just do it now and be done with it. Okay. Don't say this is a now, this is a now, this is a later, this, and then go back and do the nows. That's a waste of time. You want to make sure in your practice, because you are practicing, you want about half to 2/3 of your questions to be now questions. And that's again a rule of thumb. You see these guidelines are fairly broad as well. And you want about half the questions. Excuse me, you want to spend about half your time on now questions. Notice that about half your time on now questions means you're spending half your time on more than half the questions. So now what you're doing essentially is you're giving yourself the added time that you need for the later questions. Okay, and that is how you don't feel rushed. There are some people who believe that you should be able to do all the questions in 1 point whatever it is minutes that you are given per question. No, that's a fallacy. That is your average time per question. That is not the actual time you will spend. Some questions will go a lot faster. Others you will require 2 minutes to do that question because it can be that hard. Okay, as far as prepping for the test, what do you want to do? You want to know the format and instructions ahead of time. You want to understand the content that is being tested. You will be practicing for this test. It is not a good idea to take the test to take the test and not have practiced the test under test conditions beforehand. So you want to certainly practice under test conditions. And you want to review your practice so that you can adjust your strategy and review the required content that you need. Notice that there are two parts to this question. Most people spend all of their time here reviewing content. Realize that this test is as much about your strategy as it is about your content. So you certainly want to make sure that this is there. Now, granted, without content or without some content, this piece doesn't matter. So you need to know some content. Now, don't fall into the trap of I need to learn all the content before I start doing strategy. That's another fallacy. If you know most of the content, and by most I mean 70%, you can start adjusting for strategy at that point in time. And of course, celebrate after the test. You've had a whole year at least to prep for this test. It's been many, many, many long nights, uh, many, many long assignments. And no matter how you do, plan on celebrating. You got something to look forward to um, on your test. At this point, I hope you're queuing up your questions. I didn't see anything come through the chat. I certainly want to tell you how we can help, so I'm going to do that. And so that is your cue to now actually type your questions, so Shad and I can feed them to me. And if not, we'll just go back and do uh, the one stimulus with its 4 questions that we haven't done yet. How can we help? Our strength at the Princeton Review is how to take the standardized tests. And we have instructors, tutors, and instructors ready to help with the new AP format. What are the resources? One is this one, the AP live stream. The other one is scheduled tutoring, where you call Princeton Review and you tell them you want a tutor for this, or whatever your subject is. And yes, even for the languages, you will we should be able to get you tutoring in the languages. There is on-demand tutoring, and then we actually have crammed courses for certain topics of offered in AP that you can take a cram course. The objective behind the cram course is to try and cover the most high yield content for AP. You can't cover all the content in AP in one of these cram courses. So these courses go after the most high yield content. So if you want to make sure that, yes, you got all the high yield content, yes, certainly a cram course would do you well. Okay, and then we have the AP books that are available that you can buy. These are available from Amazon. I think it is Random House that publishes them for us. So this is what we have. Okay, I don't see anything come through. No questions. Okay, then I have one more multiple choice set, and we will just do that. Nice. I would love to see you tomorrow. Tomorrow it's going to be the short answer, so I'll just go ahead and do the one more set. We have enough time to do it. So what would I do here? What would I do here is I would say, well, okay, this is from the Travels in Asia and Africa by Ibn Battuta. And then it says, which one of the following led directly to the development of the economic systems described in the passage? These are the killer words, right? Got to read. Oh, okay, let's take a look. And this is not a short one. So I'll give you a little bit of time to read this. And when you have an answer, put it in your chat. And Shadna, feed me the answers that come through. Remember, elimination is key here. Elimination is really key. No! Eliminate! 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 Ibn Battuta, he was an explorer. Right? He was an explorer. Not this. Okay, not this. So these were the two easy ones. Now come the two hard ones. Now come the two hard ones. These are the hard ones. The hard ones are, notice that all of this is travel, right? This is sea travel. So here it said did this sea travel lead to highly developed port cities, or did the port cities lead to the sea travel? Okay. So as we are looking at this, notice that this is trade routes. It is the trade routes that led to the development of port cities, not the other way around. Okay, so this is what led to the trade routes. This came about because of the need for trade. Remember that this is the Indian Ocean system, right? So maybe I should put some notes down here. So for the Indian Ocean trade or Indian Ocean trade out relied on one thing the most, which was what? If you said the rains, and if you said monsoon, that was awesome, because that's what it relied on, monsoons and rains and things like that. So if that's what you said, great job. So here's a clip art that says great job if you said that. So and the reason why they did that is they had the need for trade. So the first 6 months they sailed in one direction, and the other 6 months they sailed in the other direction. Okay, so that is why it is actually meteorological phenomena. This is tricky, isn't it? Don't you think this is tricky? Yeah, this is tricky. Yeah, this question is tricky enough that it deserves a clip art of its own that says that it's tricky. It should say, I am a weasel. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Okay, I'll go through the other questions. The views expressed in this journal passage are best seen as evidence of which of the following concerning medieval Islamic societies? Okay, so where do we find these? For this one here, this is a reading comp type passage or reading comp type question. And the answer is really here. And so it is the supremacy of piety. The tone of the passage best reflects which one of the following in the Indian Ocean Trade Network. Okay, so what are we looking at here? Notice that all of this is somebody visiting someplace else, right? A foreign nation. So no, not this. We don't see difficulties. Okay, we don't see any superiority. So it has to be this. So here we are looking at process of elimination actually saving the day. This is one of those where if you want to try to answer the question directly, without the process of elimination, it's going to be hard. So here is where Arthur Conan Doyle method, Sherlock Holmes method actually helps. If all else has been eliminated, whatever remains must be the real answer. Okay, one more question and we will end right on time, hopefully. Okay, so Ibn Battuta is least similar to which one of the following? Don't need the passage for that. You do need to know that he was an explorer. So essentially, which one of these is not an explorer? Any answers? Not Marco Polo, we know that. Okay. Lorenzo de Medici. Ah, yes! Nice work. Good job. Good job. Lorenzo de Medici was a statesman, not an explorer. So that is why you get a great job clip art here. Well, you know what? I'm going to give you some awesomeness here because I think that's what you deserve. Totally awesome here. So I hope you saw a range of questions here, some easy ones, some hard ones. So you can see how you can tackle some of these questions. You know, the easy ones, yeah, you want to do them quickly and pick up the time. The harder ones, put in the time that you save with the easy ones so you can do them properly. So I will end here. I will be back tomorrow, unless they are questions or comments. If there are none, hopefully I will see you back tomorrow.